Hi, this is Simone with OwlCat Deisgns, and welcome back to another tutorial for our Lavender Breeze Shawl. What we're looking at today, or right now here, is the horizontal braids, the Vikkel braids, and the last tutorial showed you how to do it going from right to left across the right side of your work, and this one is going to concern itself with doing the same thing going back on the purl side, on the wrong side of your work. So I've already done a couple stitches. Again, you're starting with making one, knitted cast on, placing that back onto your right hand needle. I'm just showing you what it shows like from the right side, and I'm going to go back over to your wrong side here and show you how we do it. Again, you're always slipping that contrast colored stitch back to the left. Using your main color, you're going to purl the second stitch on the needle the regular way. Just purl it. Leave it on the needle. Now you're going to use your contrast color, and you're going to bring it through in between those both those needles to the front, to the right side of your work, so that you're in the position to purl this stitch through the back loop. Purl it through the back loop. Now you pull both stitches off the needle. Bring that yarn back to the wrong side of your work. Slip the stitch back to the left needle. Tighten the main color. Make sure you leave the contrast color sort of loose, because again, as you're going to block the shawl, you want to make sure there is going to be enough give, and this braid is not very flexible, so you want to make sure you use bigger needles and make sure you leave that sort of loose. You may want to swatch this before you start doing it on your shawl. Again, second stitch purled, grab the contrast color, bring it through in between both to the wrong side of your work. I'm going to flip it over so you can see it, otherwise I get too close to the camera. And then purl that stitch, oops, through the back. Here we go. Front, second stitch purled normal, contrast color, first stitch purled through the back loop. Both stitches come off, bring the yarn back to the wrong side of the work, slip that stitch back over to your left hand needle. Make sure you tighten a little bit. Make sure you tighten your main color. The main color is the one that you have most stitches in that color on your right needle. As you can see in the row below here, where we did that, there were a couple stitches here where I didn't tighten my main color enough, so it's a little looser. For this shawl, it really doesn't matter. As you're blocking it, it's all going to even out. But it's just something to keep in mind if you're using this pattern for anything else. So again, I'll show you a couple more so we can get to what we do when we get to a marker, which is really easy too. Main color, second stitch, purl, contrast color, bring it through between both needles to the right side of your work, and purl the first stitch through the back loop. Slide them off, bring the yarn back to the left hand side of the needle, back to the wrong side of the needle. I'm sorry, that's the German speak coming through there. The yarn being on the right, wrong side and whatnot seems to be more important to keep in mind when you're not a continental knitter, because your yarn is going to be over here on the right hand for any knit stitch or purl stitch. So it's more conducive to end up having it in the wrong side, in the wrong place. You want to make sure anytime it crosses, it's going to be on the wrong side of the work. So again, second stitch, purl, bring the contrast yarn through in between both needles to the front. Flipping this over again so you can see, you're going to purl that stitch through the back loop. Pull both stitches off, yarn to the wrong side of the work, again slip that stitch back, tighten the main color, and purl the second stitch. Bring the yarn through between both needles to the front, to the right side of your work, and purl the first stitch in the contrast color through the back loop. Slip that stitch back, yarn is back on the wrong side. I think we have one more and then we get to the marker, so I can show you. Again, second stitch, regular purl, first stitch, bring the yarn to the right side of the work, and purl it through the back loop. Slip that stitch. Before you slip that stitch back, remove the marker, slip the stitch with the yarn on the wrong side of the work, back over, replace the marker, that way it's in exactly the same spot it was before. And I'll just do one more time. Second stitch, purl it through the back loop, and the first stitch, bring the yarn to the right side of the work, and purl that one through the back loop. Again, slip it back, second stitch, purl it through the back loop, and your first stitch, second stitch, purl it regular, first stitch, purl it through the back loop. Alright, one more time, since I messed up here. Okay, main color, after you slip the stitch back, main color, purl one stitch, bring your yarn through, your contrast color yarn through to the right side of the work, purl your first stitch through the back loop, and then slide both stitches off, slip that stitch back onto the left hand needle. And here we go, et voila, that's what it looks like. And you're on your way. Remember, in the pattern you can also use the other chart, just like it says there. If this is too complex and you just really don't want to spend the time, it looks really awesome when you're done, but it does take a little time. So thanks for watching. This is Simone with OwlCat Designs, and happy knitting!